Most of the queries that we've created to date are select queries, and they select records from one or more tables that match certain criteria. But there is this group of queries in Access called action queries. And action queries include 4 types of queries. For example, there's a make a table query, which when you run that type of query, it actually creates a table with just the records that you're after. There's also a delete query, which will delete records from a table based on a certain criteria. And there's an append query, which will append records from one table to another. And there's an update query, which will actually update data. So action queries actually manipulate data rather than select records that match a certain criteria. Let's start by showing you how to make a table query. You start in the same way as you would normally start a normal select query. So I'm going to go to the Create tab in the ribbon, and I'm going to go to the Query section and click the button Query Design. I then choose the tables I want to add. So I'm going to add the campaign table, I'm going to add the pledges table, and I'm going to add the contributors table, and close the Show Table dialog box. I can stretch them so I can see all the fields, and then I'll select the fields that I want to include in my query. So for example, the fields that I'd like to include are campaign name. So I'll double click campaign name in the campaign table. I'll also double click donor name in the contributors table, and also home phone, amount pledged, which I'll find in the pledges table, and date pledged in the pledges table. To turn what is at the moment a select query, and that's showing up here in the ribbon, into what we call a make table query, we hit this button here. When I click this button, I can then give the table a name that I want to create. So I'm going to decide that I want to make a table called MTBL, short for make table, and I'll call it pledge info. Now notice you can not only make this new table in the current database, but when you run this query, it could actually create this table in another database so that other people can have access to information from your database. But we'll just create it in the current database, and I'll click OK. And you can see here with the use of just a tinge of red that the make table query is what is selected. I'm now going to actually run this query. Up till now, most of the queries we've just hit the view button to view the results. But if I hit the run button, this is designed for an action query. When I click run, it says to me you're about to paste 25 rows into a new table. So I click yes. When I look at my navigation pane, I can see there's a new table, MTBL Pledge Info. Now if I actually close this query and save it, you'll see that it has a different icon in the navigation pane than a select query. So I'm just going to hit the close button, and I'm going to say yes to saving. The name that I'd like to give this query is QRY Make Pledge Info Table. And I'll click OK. When I look at my query section in the navigation pane, this particular type of query, which is a make table query, has a little yellow star and a little asterisk. Whenever I double click this icon and run this query, it will delete the table and recreate the table based on the records that have since been added to those other tables the query is based on. So if I double click it, you're about to run a make table query that will modify data, so I say yes. The existing table is about to be deleted, so I say yes. And then 25 new rows will be added to a new table, and I go yes. When I double click this table, you can see there's the information that I asked to be put into a new table. And so this information can be deleted, modified, exported without actually upsetting the data that currently exists in the campaign contributors and pledges tables. And I'll just close that table.